gentlemen, this is the main event of the evening. And now, it's time!
Welcome in, ladies and gentlemen, to another episode of UFC previews and predictions with your boy P. Welsh here. We're gonna just start off with a little recap. We got UFC Mexico, Moreno, Royval this Saturday, and wow, it's looking like a banger card already to start. Man, every fight night's exciting to me because there's just so many opportunities to see people compete and really just develop as human beings. It's so cool. So getting that, we're just going to go ahead right into our recap from last week. Pretty solid week. Dude, the trend of the week was the favorites won all the fights up until the title fight. We were 7-4 with a no contest. I'm going to call the Lima no contest. I didn't review it, and I didn't really bet on the fight either, so I just kind of left it there. Lima looked so good anyway. So with a 7-4 week, we got a 16-8 overall record, which is not too shabby. We've taken some chances here and there. We came on the wrong side of a couple predictions, but, I'm not afraid to step on a limb and kind of like pick what I want to see happen too in a way. So not afraid to be wrong. I learned some things too that I had to do a little bit more research on Danny Barlow's reach. Maybe shouldn't have been biased and just looked at Min Yang's ability. Kopolov really got handled by Hernandez. I really didn't even want to see that one coming. I was just a big Kopolov homeboy, and kind of same with Neal. I wanted Gary to go down, so I kind of was rooting for Jeff Neal. Otherwise, Maverick decision. Elliott looked really good, strong against Woodburn. Nakamura, of course, against Vera. Lemons and Dern, man, could have went either way. Wow, close decision. The judges are something else out there. We saw Marab, the machine, cringe Hudo. That was a great fight. Neil Gary, boring as hell. Whitaker, Costa, fight of the night. Man, Costa, man. I wish they would kind of adjust the rounds. 5 minutes to end the first round. Seems like the guys are just getting going sometimes. I would really, I'm always about a little bit of change there. And then to Poria, man, breaking everybody's heart, knocking out Volkanovski there. So I did pick that one to happen, though. I didn't want it to happen, but, sometimes you hedge your heart. That way, you at least you win somewhere. So that's not too bad. 7-4. Took a couple leaps and definitely took some underdogs, and it was a big, heavy favorite card. So not a surprise there. But we're gonna be breaking it into the UFC Mexico. Let's go, ladies and gentlemen. I'm excited, dude. Starting off the card with Eric Silva and Mohamed Naimov. I said that right when I was prepping, and then I couldn't say it right here. What can I say about this fight? Starting off the card here, Naimov is 2-0 in the UFC. Looking like a strong favorite on the line. Playing buff there on the other line there. Yeah, minus 410. I really kind of think Silva might make a TKO finish. It's where he leans. If Silva really can't get in there and do a lot of grappling, get into the sub control, I can see Naimov finishing him with some ground and pound, maybe getting him in a favorable position. Silva got subbed in his last match, 2-0 for Naimov, big favorite. I can definitely just hear the announcer saying 3-0 Naimov in the UFC, at the end of the fight if it's a finish. Like celebrating him. I think it's a fairly even matchup when you look at it. I think the experience, but sometimes there's just again, always talk about the levels in the game, and I really think that certain guys just are on a different level when they step into the octagon. I was just thinking about it prior to this video. It's if you have to pull an upset like this, you have to ascend to the level above your opponent before the fight. You have to bring that, and if you haven't reached that yet, it's unlikely that it's going to happen in the fight. So I can definitely see a Naimov TKO is what I would kind of be leaning towards. Maybe this fight not go the distance. I could see this being one of those fireworks to start the featherweight division. Can give us some fireworks. And I definitely see this one to start. Naimov to pick. I'm working on some graphics, chat. I want to get a graphic so I can pick my winner, so you can see boop boop. I highlighted on the video, so if you're just skimming through, you can see who I'm definitely gonna pick. Maybe get some stuff. Maybe I'll do that. Over here. I could prep the text graphics, and then we'll move on to the next fight, dude. We got Victor Altamirano versus Felipe Dos Anjos. What can we say here? 12-3 versus 7-1. Both coming off a loss. Height about 1 inch difference. We got Philippe, he fought Cape. I don't know if it was on short notice, but in his last fight, so not a bad loss. I had Victor. You'll see a few common opponents. We got a lot of flyweights on the card, and they have a few common opponents throughout their time. I actually think this one should be pretty much. I think it'll be closer than it is. Philippe Desagno is probably a heavy favorite, but I think Victor, the first Mexican to come out on the home crown, is going to be really juiced up. I can see him coming out very strong. Really, if he has a good game plan, I feel like I'm not going to predict an upset right now, but I think it's gonna be very much closer than what the odds say. I think you can see some grappling exchanges, some very close rounds, and possibly a split decision. I kind of like this fight to go over 2.5 rounds, maybe a late finish for Philippe if he can see Victor scrambling, if he feels like he's behind on the card. I could see a finish happening, a very late one too, because I think these guys will give everything they have, man, before they can. I don't think you'll really have maybe a late submission if somebody gets tired in a bad position, trying to take a chance. You never know if somebody can get some hooks in at the end. I like Philippe. The later it goes, I like Philippe Desagnos. If it somehow gets finished early, and I like Victor, but I really like it to be a competitive fight. I could see it going very, very long on the card. I know, too. I think there's going to be a lot of live underdogs and Victor starts it. Plus 240 might be worth putting a unit on just to hedge, the pick of Philippe Desagnos. Here's what I'm talking about. I'm going to pick Philippe Desagnos, right? Heavy favorite. I think he'll get the job done on the scorecard at the end of the match. But I think Victor's going to be freaking looking amazing. You're going to see a hella excitement from the crowd. I think you're really going to get the popcorn ready. Get in your seats early because I think this is going to be one of the best cards of the year. I love when they take it international. Mexico is very proud of their fighters. And I think there's a lot of opportunities for him to win. So we might see a little bit of something on him to end it early. Other than that, we're going to be moving on to the next fight with Philippe Desagnos, our pick right there. Onto a flyweight bout, Luis Rodriguez versus Dennis Bondar, coming off a loss, making a debut, 5-6. He is a young gun. This is his MMA record. He has a heavy record outside of that versus 16-5. Bondar. You guys can't even see the Bondar. What can I say about here? Not too much when you don't have a fighter making his debut, but I'm going to just take Luis here. I'm feeling it. I'm feeling Luis. Again, put him on the home. He's on the Contender Series. Coming in against a guy who's proven to lose. Does have a big reach advantage with the arms, but I can see Luis Rodriguez getting inside, doing a lot of damage. Flyweights are tough to finish. We'll see what they can manage in this, but I expect if Luis can defend some takedowns, but you look at the sub percentage by Denbar, and he looks like he can really probably throw down there, but 100% takedown defense, takedown accuracy. We'll have to see. Sometimes the stats lie. You can't look too much into them. Kind of just got to go with your gut, and I'm really feeling Luis Rodriguez. Minus 122. I think he can catch Bondar. Maybe he's got a weak chin. He's taken some L's in his career. He's not perfect here. I think Luis off the Contender Series again. Viva la Mexico! Marab the Machine is rubbing off on them. I think they just start running through a lot of people tonight. What did we see? We saw a lot of favorites win last week on the card. And what was the one before that? We had the Canada card, right? The Strickland, Duplessis. All the Canadians lost. I think we can see something of the opposite. Maybe not all the Mexicans win, but they're going to put up a big fight, and they're going to come off with some W's here. So I'm going to pick Luis Rodriguez, TKO finish, exciting fashion, maybe, stoppage, bad position, goes in for a takedown, gets caught, mounts him on top, just does damage. Picking Luis Rodriguez there. On to the next one. We have a lightweight foul, Claudio Pucis. Definitely said that wrong versus Faraz Zayam, 14-4 versus 13-3, coming off a loss. Faraz coming off a win, 6'1" versus 5'10" in the lightweight division. I think that's all you got to tell me. 6 foot. He's a kickboxer versus a kind of a grappler sub. with the kickboxing background and the length advantage, it's something that you really can hold advantage. And if you stop takedown defense, which I probably think he's relatively decent at, only always working on it too as a kickboxer, they're gonna want to get in your face when they don't have the distance. I really like Zayam here. Not a big favorite. I definitely can see this fight going the distance. It's definitely favored to do that. But that just being said, the length, the advantage, just the trends that he has, yeah, to go the distance. I wrote in my notes, dude. He just does that. He does have some knockouts, but he also does have a high record on his. He's got a lot of fights underneath him. So I really think the potential for him to do a lot of damage. Maybe not be able to sink the finish because Claudio is going to put up a valiant effort. He's going to be trying to shoot, probably get a takedown or two. Sam could get gassed and not get the finish late in the fight and just, kind of point him there, get a, unanimous, 2-1 round. Pretty good. You also could get knocked the hell out. You never really know. So that's why we watch the fights. I'm gonna lean towards Zayam. I'm gonna pick him again for the official picks. I'm wow, look at this guy. Now I'm going all chalk here. All chalk. This is not looking good. Not looking good for your boy. Let's see how the records hold up. You already know that. I've already picked every favorite right now, and that's how it was last week. And I already feel like we're gonna be coming in some L's right there. But we'll take we're just gonna take the 4 favorites to start the fight. I like them for the reasons that they are the favorites. I said I really like Victor in the second fight, could be a live dog, and I mean definitely Bonder. I mean that's a plus 102 minus 122 situation there with Rodriguez. So you can definitely see Bonder winning. That happens a lot. Just kind of feeling the live guy. I'm feeling the area of the earth that they're fighting in. That makes a big deal to me. I feel a lot of people don't necessarily think about that, especially for some of these when they do travel. I always think about the Adesanya Strickland fight that was in Australia on Sunday morning. Izzy's never revved up to go Sunday morning. He's a Saturday night fighter. But that being said, we're going to pick Zayam and move on to the next one. We have a rematch of a no contest because of a bad stoppage from Edgar Charza versus Daniel Lacerda. And I butcher so many people's names. I apologize, but that's just me. Can't read that well. Edgar had him in position to finish. Couldn't get the clinch all the way down. The ref stopped the fight. This is a rematch. Again, heavy favorite versus heavy underdog. They've had time to adjust. That being said, man, how do you handicap this fight? With the odds being the way they are, I just want to pick Daniel just because I feel like maybe he'll try something different. He's got a different game plan. How does my guy Edgar rebound after nearly having the finish, having the redo cam, cut weight again just to go smash this guy? I mean, you can easily see, I can just picture him coming on the mic, because I do it again. I come smash anybody next, just, put something in there, just very proud of his performances. The judge stopped him previously from not getting the attempt later in the fight. Daniel looks like he had some work to do on his game, and that being said, he didn't take heavy damage. I believe it was stopped in the second round. I want to say the fight between the guys, or 137 in the first round overturned. 137 overturned in the first round, so there wasn't like a considerable large amount of damage and expenditure in that fight. That being said, I mean, it's going to be hard to pick against Edgar when he looks so close. I mean, like I said, even if it's on the decision scorecard, he might not get a finish. Maybe Daniel plays a little bit more conservative, tries a few things on the outside to keep him away from him. He's had a lot of time to prepare. I can't even remember when that no contest was, but it was maybe a Noche. It was the Noche card. So whenever that was, Amanda or not Alexa Grasso and Shevchenko, headliner. I'm gonna pick Charez because I think he had the finish. I had him in the first fight. Big favorite. I might pick him to win by decision. I might just think it goes to the judges' scorecard. Maybe a little bit more conservative of a fight on a rematch, but maybe over 2.5 rounds could be a little bit spicy there. They have it at over 1.5, which I really love at plus money. I think this gets late into the rounds. I think we're going to see a little bit different fight, and we might go to the judges' scorecard. So I'm going to pick Chiara's there, another favorite. Bang! bang! In the flyweight division, we're going to see you. On the next fight, we got Jesus Aguilar versus Mateus Mendonkaya. I don't know how to say that properly, but this one 9-2 versus 10-2, coming off 2 losses for Mateus versus Jesus Aguilar. 5'4" versus 5'6", huge reach advantage right there. And you know what I got here? I picked Jesus for some reason. He's my first underdog of the card, plus 130, looking good. I think Jesus might be able to get in there, wrestle him, have enough to bite down and just get in there and do what he wants. Get a trip in there, negate some of that length on the outside. Only a 2-inch height advantage. So unless Matthias looks really, really good on the outside, and, coming off 2 losses could look a little nervous there. I definitely like Jesus here because I think he's going to get in there, get some takedowns. I think in the flyweight bouts, I always kind of leaning towards a wrestler. If this guy can't wrestle, there's not too much, and it's really hard to put out guys at 125. You just don't see that big TKO power in that weight division. And I'm just nothing against them. That's just the facts of it. Just look at the KO percentage versus sub percentages right here. Alone, I think that tends to be the trend over time. And as I'm trending Jesus, I'm trending on the guy that probably is going to go there and give the fans something exciting. Again, I'm a little biased here. I'm going to favor a lot of Mexico guys over the Brazilian guy coming off 2 losses. Where I like my first underdog of the night is Jesus Aguilar. I really like him, even by sub. That might be a spicy thing to put a unit on, just to see if we can get the picks right aligned with what's going to happen. I'm really liking this card. The energy is going to be amazing in the arena. They're going to be from pregame. There's going to be so much noise in there. You're going to hear so much chanting. It is going to be such a great watching experience. I highly recommend tuning in and watching this card. You don't watch a lot of the non-big pay-per-view that I highly recommend just tuning in whenever you can. A little bit of ESPN Plus, whatever you got, man. You got to just go out to a bar, just go watch it. Go get some dinner and go watch the card for a little bit because and you're not gonna want to miss it because there's gonna be some carnage on this card. And Jesus Aguilar, could be starting there. I could see him getting a nasty takedown and just finishing him. Possibly. I like Matthias. I picked him, but he just hasn't looked good in the fights when he's lost. So, maybe it's his time to shine, but I'm picking Jesus here. Moving on to the next card, ladies and gentlemen. I believe this is the last of the early prelims. We have Christian Quinones versus Ryan Barcelos, 18-4 versus 17-5, both coming off a loss in the bantamweight division. Bit of a reach advantage and a height advantage for Quinones. Barcelos, looking every bit the challenger for this fight. Definitely a veteran of fight time, not afraid to scrap it out long for the long haul. And that's where I really think the edge in this fight comes for Barcelos is fight getting the decision. I think he'll have a little bit better of a gas tank. I can definitely see this fight going the distance. We're going over 2.5 rounds. I think Quinones' win condition is a KO, and Barcelos could fit the bill, but he's also a heavy decision fighter, 57%. Get a lot of favorable positions against Quinones. Hate that power because if they have a good game plan, I think they can be ready to go. I like him at minus 192, and I also really like this fight to go 2.5. The bantamweight division, these guys look a lot bigger when we're previewing them, but when we get in there, it's going to be, I think, a little bit tougher for one of them than the other. Like I said, it could be a late one and Barcelos, he just tends to have a gas tank that lasts longer. Also, but when you knock people out a little bit more, you don't fight for as long. And that being said, that's where I'm kind of leaning for Barcelos in this fight. Again, another favorite, but I think for good reason, and get to the end of the fight, be like, okay, that was definitely very close. You understand why he was a favorite. The fight plays out with the styles of the fighter. I think it's something that I'm trying to forecast slightly as I'm doing these previews and predictions. I definitely am wrong a lot. I mean, look at the record. We're not perfect, chat. Nobody's perfect. So that being said, I just try and predict what I want to see happen in a way and what I kind of could see happening and not try and root for like the fandom. trying to bring a pretty like logical way to view it, but also take some chances because that's what you have to do in the fight game. You have to take chances. It's never pretty and clean. I know. I'm just gonna take Barcelos by decision. Very, very, very vanilla pick, but I think we see some fireworks come the main card. That being said, we're starting with Manuel Toros versus Chris Duncan, 14-2 versus 11-1 record, 5-10 versus 5-10, a little bit of a reach advantage. And I noticed in breaking down the fight, it's Torres's power. I believe he has a different level of power, while Duncan, if he can withstand that and not get KO'd, the ref lets him fight and gives him a chance. It could be a pretty close one in the end. But I'm leaning Torres here for sure. We got Torres minus 185 and Duncan plus 154. I think it's going to be a barn burner. I think this is going to be one that's going to send some fireworks in the crowd. You're going to standing in ovation. I think vision here. You see Torres knock him out, and the camera's going to pan to all the crowd going crazy for really just see that happening, defending the home turf. He's looked good recently. They both have looked good recently. But again, where the fight is fought sometimes is where I'm not saying Duncan has no chance to win. He's going to do some damage. If he can really hurt Torres, I think that's Duncan's best chance. He's got to do damage, get inside, and work the body. I think that's where Duncan can really excel, is working the body. If Torres can't KO Duncan, if he doesn't get him on the ground and pound early, doesn't get the ref to stop him, you got to really pray the ref wants to stop it for Torres and doesn't let Duncan go. If I'm Duncan, I'm saying, hey, man, let him freaking get me. I'm going to gas him in the end. I think that could be Duncan's win condition later in the fight. I definitely can see Torres getting a stoppage early in the fight. That's what they're kind of predicting. He's got some insane power from just the previews that I've seen. Not long fights at all, so I'm definitely going to be picking Torres, and I like the KO factor. Duncan's very live dog, and the later the fight goes, the more favorable it is for him. And but I can also see him getting a lot of damage and him just kind of gassing out at the end as well. The striking could be superior for Torres, and I think that's where the difference. And we're picking Torres, baby. Let's go. Onto the women's strawweight. We have Yasmin versus Sam Hughes, 10-1 versus 8-5. And what can we say about this fight is Yasmin is 10-1 off a loss versus Sam Hughes, 8-5, also win. It seems like the roles need to be reversed here. I see Sam Hughes, unfortunately, she loses, right? Yasmin came off one loss. I think she's going to be coming back looking better than ever. I expect her to get a finish. Expect her to do a lot of damage. I could see her getting a 10-8 round. I can see her coming back with a vengeance. I said, Viva la Mexico. Like, this one's not hard for me. The odds are minus 512, so I'm not going to take the money line. We could see it go later in the fight. They have it over in 2.5 rounds at minus 110. But I can definitely see Yasmin getting a finish here on Sam Hughes. And I know she gets inside, can do a lot of damage. I can see some dirty boxing from her. I know they're going to say she doesn't have any sub percentages, so the later it goes, I mean, we definitely could see Yasmin by decision is definitely a super favorite. I'd probably I like 2 bets for this fight. I like Yasmin by decision, and then I'm going to like the over 2.5 rounds or something like that. Mix and match. I think Sam Hughes is going to have a lot of heart. She fights really long fights. Look at that, 13.5 minutes. So even when she gets them late. That being said, it's just like when you see fighters and I preview them and when I look at them as like the fight cards come in, even then I started recording these videos. Look at like, that's what somebody taught me. Like, this guy loses from time to time. The other guy hasn't lost. Why would, so I think the guy that takes some L's might take an L here, and that guy did. It doesn't always happen like that. That's just kind of how I believe fighters rebound, the way the matchmakers make it in a way, the way the styles work out. The metrics of the fight, right? The length, the reach, the weight, styles, submissions, punching, kicks, all of it. I think there's so many factors, but you can tend to see some trends over time, and this is one that I really like. Especially heavy favorite like that. I always like the heavy favorites by decision. I always think it's worth a bet, and I always think they can finish. No, don't get me wrong, but that being said, I really like Yasmin right there all the way, and give me here by decision. And I do think she's live for a finish, but that being said, I definitely can see it being stopped as well. So maybe decision and TKO, bet him twice. Looking nice for Yasmin right there. On to one of the more exciting facts. We're getting towards the main event of the evening. Raul Rojas Jr. versus Ricky Truncayos, 8-1 versus 13-3. 5'9" versus 5'9" in the bantamweight division. We got a little bit of a reach advantage for Ricky. Going to try and really keep Raul on the outside. He saw Raul's power. I think he's just developing as a person. And then what can you say here? How do you not like Raul Rojas Jr. kind of come in here? I really think he wrestle him and I tire out Ricky. He'll get the finish, but I definitely like Raul Rojas here, man. I think he can just stay training. If he just stays not on social media, he's so young. He's so got so much talent. The energy that he's gonna feed off of too, like pure emotion. I love the young gun here, just because he doesn't know any better, right? Like he just doesn't know any better. He's just gonna come in there, throw hands, take him down, and just try and control him. I think he's got an advantage for being so young. It's not as much as a hindrance because he's got this ability to use his body and hasn't been beat up so much. And I think he can get into these different positions. He's fast enough. He's strong enough. Right? Speed. The youngster speed when you're exploding with your hips and your legs. Like you see it, soccer players, they tend, these grapplers, they tend to slow down all the time. All the freaking all the penetration steps, all the hip movements. Like, look at Usman can barely run. Like, he's not as explosive as he used to be. So, and I think that's where Rojas really gets an advantage here is in that explosiveness, is in the youth, the agility, in the ability. I think you'll see some low kicks to start, and then you'll see some jabs to work in there and try and close the distance. He's going to start with his legs, go with his hands, work the distance, going to get Ricky to commit to some combinations, off of that. Then he's going to take him down. And I think you're going to see a lot of it. It might go the distance. It might go a little bit longer than we expect just because I think Rojas just wants to wrestle, bro. He just wants, it might not be everybody the most picture-perfect fan fight, what everybody wants to see, the striking. I think you'll see a lot, but I think you'll see a lot of domination on Rojas. I expect that. I think that loss taught him a lot. I just think he's going hard in the gym, too. He's not trying to get distracted by too much else. I really like Raul Rojas here. And then we're going to be moving on to the lightweight bout versus Daniel Zellhuber versus Francisco Prado. We got 14-1 versus 12-1, 6'1" versus 5'10" in the lightweight division. And, boy, the last time we saw Zellhuber, he looked really good. I think he got a second-round on the Noche card. Francisco Prado coming off a win, and man, he's got really good jiu-jitsu skills and takedown defense, the heavy sub game, and I think this sets up to be quite a banger. I actually think these guys will throw a little bit more hands. I think what getting out of the clinch with some of his length advantage and getting a lot of elbows, some dirty boxing in combos on the way out where Prado can't hit him. Because at some point they're gonna break, at some point they're gonna stalemate, and I think at that point, if Zellhuber is able to at least control him against the octagon, doesn't get taken down, I think you can really see a chance for look at the takedown defense. He's got the length. I really think you can see Zellhuber really winning this fight handily. Looking very good again. Again, style, the matchup, looking very good. I think we can get a little bit of a longer fight as well. Definitely can see it maybe not being as electric in the start. I think guys could really respect one another. I think once Daniel just closes the distance down, I think you'll see he's a very skilled fighter. It seems very natural to him. Not saying it doesn't for Prado, but I also think if he's at an advantage, it's advantageous for him. And I think he'll use it. Think you tend to see it over time. It doesn't always work like that. Like, Feely lost the 50K Dan Ige, you know what I mean? So, like, the length doesn't always work out the way you think it does, but different fights, different situations, and I like Zellhuber here. I think he could possibly get a TKO, right? I think if Prado tries to just get off the fence in a way, Zellhuber can get on him, do a little bit of a ground and pound, and it's late in the fight and a lot of damage has been done, I think that's when we'll see Zellhuber's hand raised up and notch another victory on his belt and be a very exciting, maybe crank the rankings in the lightweight division. I don't know. The lightweight division is stacked, but I think you'll see another contender budding right there, and he's going to have another more exciting fight. Man, put him against Patty, dude. And if he looks good, put him against Patty. I don't, that would be great. Anybody versus Patty. Let's see it, baby. On to the featherweight rematch in the co-main event. We got Yair Rodriguez versus Brian Ortega, 16-4, 15-3, both coming off a loss. And, man, it's been a while since Ortega's been in the octagon. It's been since the Volkanovski fight, I believe. Yair coming off the loss to Volkanovski. Plenty of time to recover there. Really think, that being said, I mean, Volk's gotten KO'd twice since Yair's been KO'd. I mean, this has got to be Yair all day. He's got respectable odds at -155, and I can't tell if it's a 5-round co-main event or just a 3-round, but either way, I probably think it's a 3-round since Ortega hadn't been in for a long time. I like Rodriguez here. I probably like Rodriguez by decision. He's going to have a lot of respect for Ortega. He's going to keep him to the outside, switch kicks, switch stances, probably just feint a couple takedowns, get some body work done, and they caught in a bad position. I think he has the length and the strength to defend whatever Ortega can throw at him. I think once Ortega takes some damage, it's going to be really hard for him to be as explosive and be able to get, as they get sweaty, it's going to be harder for him to corral Rodriguez with his length to be able to maybe slip out of a few more things. The fight against Volk this is a championship fight against Alexander Volkanovski, man. More times than not, you're going to end up looking like Yair Rodriguez, and both of these men can attest to that. So, that being said, very interesting featherweight division matchup. I really like Rodriguez here, Yair all day. I just think he's just class ascending, and unfortunately for Ortega, it just tends to be that way on the way out. Hopefully, he doesn't get brutally knocked out. I'm never rooting for that. I think Ortega could keep it very competitive if he time it very well, but just not being in there for such a long time, the timing get into Rodriguez without taking so much damage to affect what you can do at the end of the day is maybe too much to overcome in a 3-round fight. I think Rodriguez can definitely win. It might even be split decision. I think he'll have a lot of respect for him, but I think you can see a very fast Rodriguez. Kickboxing, jabs, hooks, knees, elbows, everything. He's got the crazy game, spinning back hooks, something crazy. I think you will see head kick maybe from. We'll see something wonderful from him, and maybe it'll be a spectacular finish just because he has that in his repertoire, man. You never know with that man. So I think he's going to come back strong in Rodriguez all day. And on to the main event of the evening. We got Brandon Moreno versus Brandon Royval. B&B, baby. Both coming off a loss to the same man, the champ, Alexander Pantoja, 27-7-2 versus 15-7. And all I will just say is, I mean, you have to lean Moreno. He's a heavy favorite. We got a 5-round main event here. Royval, I think we can see a longer fight here. I think Moreno can earn the finish at some point in this fight. I think if you just look at everything he's been through, everything he's trained for, everything he's mentally prepared for, mentally done in, all the losses he's taken too. Like Moreno just comes back, and I think you see another class act. A little bit of a length advantage for Royval, but I just think he doesn't generate the power that it really does take to knock out Moreno. He's a tough guy, right? He's been finished, a few times. A lot of times it's going late into the card, and that's where I would kind of lean is plus 3.5 rounds. I can see us going into something like that, and I'm gonna be picking Moreno. If I'll do a recap on the way back over the whole card. It's not exactly the bets I'll make as well, so these are just picks and predictions. These are not actual bets that I make. Any of those, go to twitch.tv/pwelsh, and we can talk about those live. Other than that, I'm picking Moreno here, probably by decision. If he gets a finish, he has the potential. But I think Royval he's a stern competitor, and he's not going to go down. The 5th round against Pantoja, he was tired out. So I think that's where we maybe can see a Royval finish late in the fight, really, really kind of ascend. He knows he's got to push himself to another level because he has him and Pantoja still in. This is a really a big fight for the division. Really, really big fight. And that being said, it should be very exciting to see this one shake out. I think it's scrap and a half. I think we see a lot of damage, a lot of blood, a lot of strikes, a lot of grappling, a lot of submission attempts. I think you're going to see a firework of a fight for a man. We're going to be remembering this UFC Mexico card all the way for a while, like we do every time. And we'll have the UFC Noche in the Sphere later this year in Vegas. That will be an absolute banger, and we'll come back to look at the video and remember the fireworks that the Viva la Mexico bring to the card. So we're just a little recap here. We're going to go Nam off. We're going to go official pick Dos Santos, but I'm like Victor a lot there. I'm going to go Rodriguez over Bondor. I'm going to go Zayam over Pluyas. I'm going Charza versus Lacerda. I got Aguilar over Mendoca. I got Baralos over Quinones. I got Torres over Duncan. I got Yasmin. I got Rojas, Zellhuber, Rodriguez, and Moreno. Gentlemen, it's always a pleasure to bring you these videos. Thank you. Like, comment, subscribe it would really help the channel. Trying to get to 100 subs. So as we grow one video at a time, I really appreciate you guys checking me out, supporting me, and it would be wonderful. I'll see you guys Saturday night. Until then, peace and love. Later.